Force Center. Sir, are those live rounds?
Hey everyone, we're live on Unicorn Riot right now. We're in Atlanta, Georgia, and there are state troopers and possibly Atlanta police officers as well here at the RC field. At the RC field, this person's pointing their gun inside a bouncy house right now. That state trooper just pointed a rifle inside a bouncy house.
This is a public park!
So again, we are in Atlanta, Georgia, and they just turned a...
And put that...
we just heard something. Might have sounded like a gunshot or a firework. Chris, we have to be 20 feet close because the mic won't work otherwise. But yeah, there was a noise that kind of sounded like a gunshot or a firework over there. We are in Atlanta, Georgia, and let's see what there's. We're in Atlanta, Georgia. We're at the RC field, which is somewhat near Weelaunee People's Park. And there's a music festival here advocating for quote-unquote Stop Cop City movement and defend the Atlanta forest. There are state troopers and Atlanta police officers who arrived on the scene at this music festival recently here tonight. And they apparently tackled a bunch of people in the crowd, and they seem to be going, I don't know, there's a group of 5 right in front of us. They're splitting up. Probably at least a dozen kind of like charged in to the driveway of this park about 15 or 20 minutes ago. And yes, so we believe they arrested a handful or more of people. It's unclear at this time. At the very least, detained people. Earlier tonight, there was an autonomous group of forest defenders who, it was the biggest march through the Atlanta forest that's ever happened. It just happened about an hour ago, and people marched up a clearing where the power lines are, and that's a spot where police activity and surveillance has mostly stationed. More cops are on the way, walking in at a brisk pace. More rifles, more live ammunition rounds by the Georgia State Patrol walking into the Atlanta forest. The cops have a bunch. There's fireworks going off right now behind the trees. Yeah, these are, yes, there's 2 state troopers and 4, I'm assuming Atlanta police officers, but 4 police officers walking briskly towards the trees. The police helicopter has been overhead for a couple hours now, maybe more than that actually. It's been circling overhead for a lot of the evening. The troopers and cops are now running toward the trees. We are just following behind. There's also another police officer directly behind us. And yeah, this is Unicorn. This is Unicorn Riot. We're here on the ground live streaming this. What's currently happening, this person has a rifle on them as well. And yeah, so there's multiple officers with multiple live ammunition rounds on their person. People, there's continued fireworks, and seems like there might be some sort of takedown of some people, or like arrest may be happening currently. We believe there already were some people arrested in the crowd of the music festival not too long ago. Oh yeah, that's smells and feels like tear gas or pepper spray was deployed. Yeah, Chris, can you move back a little bit, please? Yeah, Chris. I need to put my...
One of the cops said it was a projectile ball, so it's probably like pepper.
There was a projectile ball
Hold up here.
of chemical weapons of pepper spray or tear gas. Trying to talk through breathing the excess in right now. It's filled this, like, it spread really far. It filled where we are right now in the field. It's higher. Can we go down a little bit? It's a little bit higher elevation, so I think it's moving toward here, but all right, we're just gonna move a little bit. But again, this is in Atlanta, Georgia. Folks have reset up an occupation of the forest to try to protect and defend it from a quote-unquote cop city, which is the Atlanta Police Foundation's proposed training facility. And from a movie studio slash music sound facility. So for the facility, two facilities, the training facility and the like film industry facility are two proposed projects that would raise part of the largest urban forest in the country. There are dozens of Georgia State Patrol troopers and police officers wandering the woods right now with their flashlights. There have been multiple arrests. We don't know how many have been arrested so far. Some tear gas or pepper spray was deployed, which is why I'm coughing. Yeah, thank you for tuning in, everyone. We are Unicorn Riot, again in Atlanta, Georgia. This is happening in the Atlanta forest right now. We are currently on the RC field, which is also right near Weelaunee Peoples Park, also known as Entrenchment Creek Park. There are Georgia State Patrol and police officers scouring the woods, apparently looking for specific people. They've arrested a number of people. We don't know the exact number.
We can see an arrest video.
Yeah, we can see at least two people sitting arrested right now, being detained.
The focus there's a problem with the focus. Is this the manual focus here?
No.
Is it the light?
It isn't great at focusing when it's dark.
It's a mix of the fireworks and chemical.
They're walking someone they've
pepper ball
detained
impact round.
out
It's like a rubber bullet, but it has peppers.
right now.
Okay, thank you. I gotta get some clarification.
That's what I overheard a cop say. I can't say for
Okay,
sure.
good, because I heard someone say, yeah, I don't.
So again, there have been multiple arrests so far.
Yeah, hell yeah, Unicorn Riot.
At the RC field, there was a Stop Cop City music festival. That's the name it's called. The point was for musicians to play music and to advocate for the protection of the Atlanta forest, which is the largest urban forest in the United States. Then some other folks decided to try to take back a clearing that where the power lines are, and that's an area where police have set up surveillance and kind of had like a watch space in that area, and people decided they wanted that area of the forest back. So it was the largest march that has ever happened in this movement, and things were set on fire and smashed, and and now Georgia State Patrol officers and police officers, I believe they're Atlanta police officers, have been marched into the RC field. There are sirens behind us right now.
It could also be DeKalb County Police.
Okay, it could also be DeKalb County Police. And yes, they are currently walking people out to the road that they have detained. We don't know how many people have been arrested or detained so far, but it's probably at least a dozen, I would say. When they first entered the RC field, they walked up the driveway. And they walked up the driveway briskly and walked straight to the crowd of festival goers, and apparently tackled some people. And now they've been just like going through the forest with flashlights.
Do you want any water?
Honestly, I think it's just, I need to like blow my nose. I think that would maybe help. Whew.
Sorry, I'm just not really wanting to be alone at this point. I'm with
No.
the independent, local NYC kind of radical. Here, you want some tissue? It looks used, but it's not.
Yes.
Okay, it's just
Give me just 2 seconds.
Take your time.
What do you think? Should we like not zoom in on the
Don't zoom in on that. So yes, more, oh yeah, if I,
Yeah.
thank you so much. God fucking
So I'm showing it just zoomed out, but these are the arrestees being led away.
These are some of the detainees being led away. There's at least 3. Alright. I might like actually. Chris, can you take over?
Yeah.
I like my foot.
So what you just saw was some of the people that the combined task force of Georgia State Patrol, DeKalb County Police, likely Atlanta Police, and probably also agents from the Georgia Bureau of Investigation. It seemed like they had a team of a few dozen officers that ran in here shortly after maybe most of the march returned, that marched towards there's a power line clearing down the road from here that's kind of a natural demarcation between the public parkland here and the previous public land that is now assigned to the lease to the Atlanta Police Foundation for the proposed and widely unpopular so-called Cop City, or officially named the Atlanta Public Safety Training Center. It's been a bit of a PR crisis for this project for more recently the last few months since they killed a protester not very far from where we're standing right now. But the Atlanta Mayor Andre Dickens and various officials involved and the corporate-funded Atlanta Police Foundation tout the Atlanta Public Safety Training Center, or Cop City as it's mostly known. They tout it as being a place where they do so-called 21st century policing training, but their own website language talks about it as a paramilitary institution. And it would be a training center for urban warfare studies and practice with a mock city. And actually the area that's slated to include Cop City that would be connected to the public lands we're on right now would be was originally in 2020 scheduled to be part of a big parks development for the city of Atlanta to provide like more developed parks to their citizens. But after the 2020 George Floyd rebellions, probably to placate the unhappy police, the city of Atlanta and the Atlanta Police Foundation kind of acting as a sort of a shadow entity for corporate money to influence the police. They essentially reneged on many of the promised park plans that they made to the public, and instead now they are proposing or attempting to construct an 84-acre police urban warfare training center with a bunch of classrooms and mock cities and all that. So what we're seeing is I would maybe guess that anyone that's already been arrested has been let out, as you saw happen on the stream just now. You can see there's officers sort of combing through the woods with flashlights. I don't know if they have specific suspects they're looking for. That was my guess, was that they would have targeted things towards descriptions of people that maybe were responsible for torching some of the equipment. But so apologies, we're kind of working through adrenaline and clouds of pepper, like chemical weapons here. But what happened, you can check Unicorn Riot's Twitter account or Mastodon account to see images of what just happened, where people marched to a guard station on kind of like this clearing you see up ahead, not far from where we are now. There's a power line clearing that police had a surveillance post there, kind of watching access to the Cop City site, where maybe forest defenders or protesters could get in on foot. There was like a light guard tower and some vehicles that a group of several hundred forest defenders marched there, quickly overran the site by shooting fireworks through the fence and torched large amounts of equipment. It seemed like they really caught the police sleeping, so to speak, and really did a number on a lot of the equipment and vehicles there. Many of the people that both here from Atlanta and that have traveled to the area for this week of action have been very open about the fact that they're motivated not just by the history of police racism here in Atlanta and by the environmental issues from the destruction of the forest, but by the January 18th shooting death close to where we are now of Manuel Terán, aka Tortuguita, a 26-year-old climate activist, indigenous Venezuelan immigrant who was living at a forest defense encampment, not actually on the Cop City site itself, but nearby. They were shot 13 times and killed on site on the morning of January 18th. The Georgia Bureau of Investigation claims that Manuel Terán shot at a state trooper first. However, body camera footage from Atlanta police officers that were there that day showed that at least the 4 Atlanta cops whose body cameras have been published all believed that the shots heard were consistent with suppressed fire, which the gun supposedly possessed by Terán did not have a suppressor, but Georgia State Patrol did have suppressors that day. Additionally, the 4 Atlanta cops and their body cameras are the only publicly available video of the shooting. They all speculated that they believed it was friendly fire and that the officer was shot probably by panicked, trigger-happy coworkers on the Georgia State Patrol. And so the Georgia State Patrol is under the umbrella of the Georgia Department of Public Safety, which includes the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, who is investigating the shooting in the not-so-independent investigation. So there's some evidence that would seem to suggest that Terán did not shoot and was instead killed execution style with the 13 shots. The Georgia authorities claim, of course, that Terán shot first, and there's no proof for that. So that deadly escalation by the police led to what we saw today, where some of the forest defenders, protesters took it in their own hands to torch a significant amount of equipment, serving as kind of a security outpost by the Cop City site. Yeah, it's Unicorn Riot. We're like an independent.
Okay. Hey, y'all have a cigarette?
No, we don't. Sorry. So both in general opposition to the Cop City project and hoping to preserve one of the largest urban forests in the U.S., and also, motivated by rage and sorrow by the January 18th alleged murder, definitely confirmed shooting death of Manuel Terán, aka Tortuguita, which means little turtle in Spanish, someone that had been living out here for many months as part of the forest defense campaign. Many of those issues, police brutality and police shootings in Atlanta, particularly against the black community, ecological defense and, trying to prevent the worst aspects of climate change, and the January 18th murder, what protesters say is a murder. We don't exactly know what happened, and we may never know what happened. But so that's kind of the boiling over cauldron of factors that motivated hundreds of people to go and overtake and destroy basically a security outpost for the construction of the Cop City project. And the construction of Cop City, also known as the Atlanta Public Safety Training Center, is currently being appealed. A local resident named Amy Taylor, who actually was a member of the so-called Community Stakeholder Advisory Committee for the project, has filed an appeal against the project as a number of issues with hydrology, groundwater, etc., were allegedly, ignored or not really properly addressed in the environmental site planning for the project. The only real review of the regulatory and environmental process of the planning of the proposed Cop City site, that's all been done by contractors that are in the pocket of the Atlanta Police Foundation. Literally their client, the Police Foundation, tells them what to consider or what to ignore. And so, sorry, I'm trying to zoom in on some officers up the hill here. We're working with limited ability to pick up stuff on the infrared at night. So those are some officers still searching the woods. You can sort of see there. Sorry for the poor light. All right, looks like they're coming down the hill, doing a sweep. But so the Cop City project is still being appealed on basically an environmental and zoning issue. But a local judge ruled that construction can continue while the appeal is pending. So and Mayor Andre Dickens has been facing a bit of a PR and personal crisis over the project. He's reportedly broken down in tears to members of Atlanta City Council, maybe getting more than he bargained for by advocating so hard for this project. Yeah. Do you think we should go down soon? Things are...
Yeah, I just want to try to...
Okay.
I got it.
All right. Thanks for bearing with us, everyone. The sun basically went down right around the time the cops moved in here. We did our best to... Oh, looks like they might still be searching for someone in the woods over there. So yeah, we apologize for the limited visual range here. Even with camera lights, the officers doing the sweep here are not really close enough to be picked up with the lights, so we're doing the best we can. And so we don't know how many arrests happened after that march torched a significant portion of a security outpost near the 84-acre, basically public lands, or the original, the site of the old prison farm here in DeKalb County outside of Atlanta.
We're press with press credentials. Okay, we are walking.
Wait, which way?
Our vehicle's over here. Can we go to our vehicle?
No. Tell you where to go. Walk on the road.
This way?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right,
Okay, so-
you got it. You're telling us to go this way, just to be clear? All right.
And can we get our vehicle at?
When you go that way, walk along the road.
Okay.
Reason for the problem.
Go.
Giving them their daggone thing anyway.
Sir, if you don't turn around and walk, you're going to handcuffs.
All right. We're
We're walking. I'm walking. Forgive me if I'm
Chris,
slow.
please
We've got
walk a
lot of
little bit
debris here.
all right.
You walk through it, get out of it.
All right. Anything else you need us to do? Just let us know.
Grabbing me.
I didn't
That
grab
was
you.
really. Oh, you okay?
I got a flashlight in my hand, there's no way to grab.
I guess I must have felt the ghost grab my shoulder. Chris was saying that we were just almost detained.
Yeah, so we were definitely just almost detained and definitely threatened with arrest by Georgia State Troopers. Georgia State Troopers and/or Atlanta Police.
Chris, like literally, please walk slower.
All right.
Thank you. That's where it was.
We're walking, guys. We're just trying to stay together, but we're going here like you told us. Howdy. The officers back there told us to go this way, so that's what we're doing. All right.
Here,
All right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we were just threatened with arrest or detention and basically forcibly removed. I couldn't tell if we had guns pointed at us or not. It's a little dark. Yeah. Our reporters, Alex and Sean, were definitely manhandled while we were out here. We started walking away as soon as they told us to move. So, yeah, you can see there's some... Let me switch off the infrared. There's some... I believe state troopers with automatic rifles and SWAT gear out here. All right. Well, so where's the point where we can just like respecting your operation, be still and report what's going on?
Just keep walking. They'll let you know when you get to that point. All right. Keep moving. Thank you.
All right. We're just concerned with the public's ability to see what's going on. We don't have any interest in resisting you or your commands. Okay. Thank you.
Would it be helpful here? 'Cause, right.
Or do you want to talk?
Sure. Yes, so as Chris was saying, we were nearly detained as journalists, just covering what the police were doing. Lots of police with live rounds, and they also sprayed a bunch of tear gas or pepper spray projectile into the forest. Right here is Milani People's Park, known as Entrenchment Creek Park. The clumps of concrete and
We wanted to stand out and continue reporting. Is that cool? You can do that all day.
the destroyed gazebo that is from Ryan Millsap, and his crew came in one day with some construction equipment and tore that up, and also tore up all of what used to, like, this used to be some concrete, and like the pathway, there's like a bike path and a walking path that people used to enjoy. Part of it is now just like little rocks and dirt. So again, tonight we are in Atlanta, Georgia. There's been a music festival this weekend to promote and advocate. Organizers who created the music festival did it to promote and advocate defending and protecting this massive forest in Atlanta, just south of the city. And some people who have been trying to protect the forest from a Atlanta Police Foundation training facility where the cops would be training on like a mock city setup, as well as a new big shooting range and a lot of other facilities for police to train from all around the country. It wouldn't just be a local resource. It would definitely be used by multiple different agencies from all over. And not only that, but there's also a potential movie film studio / sound studio being built. Those are both proposed projects, by the way. They have not been built yet. There is not currently a police training facility in the forest, and there is also not currently a film studio / music studio in the forest. You may see on other news outlets, they refer to this area as the Atlanta Police Training Facility. There is no training facility right here. These are woods. There are a bunch of trees and a few different parks. Tonight, some people, and by some I mean hundreds of people marched down a clearing where surveillance setup, outpost was created. It has been present with State Patrol and police. And just more and more police keep walking through. That's the sheriff's department right there. Yeah, between Georgia State Patrol and sheriff's office now, and then either Atlanta or DeKalb police officers. We were almost detained ourselves just by filming what was going on in the RC field, which is essentially a public park.
Hey, all of y'all move to the other side of the street. Get off here.
This person with Georgia State Patrol is telling everyone to walk across the street.
Out of the street on the other side.
Yes, we are official journalists.
I'm
Yeah.
asking.
Yeah. We're with Unicorn Riot. It's a media nonprofit registered in
I got
Minnesota.
you. You still just have to stand off the private property right now, okay?
This is private property?
What he's advising.
Yes.
Okay, we're being told that Weelaunee Peoples Park and Trenchment Creek Park is private property, so we need to cross the street. There's not a sidewalk over here though, it's just a hill, so I don't really know how this is safer. But yeah, we're just kind of literally on the side of the street. There's not a sidewalk over here.
Go stand over there. Keep moving.
So yes, people who marched up, it was the biggest march to ever happen in the Atlanta forest to try to protect and defend the area. And during that, a surveillance light tower, a trailer, a UTV, small little vehicle, and maybe some other things were set on fire and smashed. And police retreated pretty quickly from that area. And then this large crackdown is currently ongoing. We don't know the exact number of arrests, but there have definitely been arrests. We saw people detained and brought out to the road where we're assuming they got put in transport vehicles. As far as we can tell, there's a mix between Georgia State Patrol, a sheriff's department. Have you been able to see what sheriff's department?
We believe it's DeKalb County Police and Fulton County Police Departments.
They might be seeing someone in the woods right now, and a lot of them are a lot of the officers and law enforcement are walking toward something right now. Oh, walking toward somebody who just emerged from the woods.
Trying to go into the woods.
Gentlemen, y'all have been advised to stay out of the street.
Somebody near the woods is who the law enforcement just approached, but they are basically
Looks like they're leaving. They're just walking out.
making everybody who they saw in the area leave. A lot of people had set up like tents and stuff to just like spend time at this music festival, and a lot of cars are parked in the parking lot here at Weelaunee Peoples Park, also in Trenchment Creek Park, and at the RC field. And everyone just being told to just walk out of the forest, and that we have to walk down the road to access vehicles if we parked at the RC field.
And so just one quick comment, if I may. This is Chris with Unicorn Riot. So before we were kind of being pushed as we were like suddenly ordered to stop reporting from the scene inside the RC field here. Our reporters Alex and Sean, not myself personally, were definitely like pushed, and then Alex said, "Why are you pushing me?" And the officer said, "I wasn't pushing you." We're pretty sure they did in fact push them. And so even just the fact that
like I felt the police hand grab my right shoulder blade. in the back of me. So yeah, and then he said that he didn't, and that he couldn't have because he was holding a light in it, or so. He like his hands were full, so he couldn't have done that, even though he obviously did.
And so right now, one officer earlier told us that we were basically continually threatened with arrest and kind of herded out of this area you see before you here, which is where the forest is on the other side of that floodlight. One officer told us that for as long as we wanted, we could stand where you see now on more of like a sidewalk area. These officers here pushed us across the street. We're currently just, there's some woods here. This is not really a safe place for pedestrians. And so this is really a kind of small in the grand scheme of press freedom violations, but it points to a larger disrespect for the rights of the free press by the authorities around this project. Back in December 2022, at a meeting of the Community Stakeholder Advisory Committee for the, it was commissioned by City Council, but it's basically a police-controlled advisory committee that's used to present the illusion of public input on the project, but anyone that was critical was either kicked off or resigned, essentially. But Atlanta Police Assistant Chief Carvin Tyus admitted that during a previous raid in this area, they used the hands-free driving law as a pretext to arrest someone who was driving by filming the police. Chief Tyus essentially said, yeah, he was filming them and filming the police, and we were able to lock him up, essentially celebrating arresting someone, albeit with a pretext, but arresting them because they were filming the police. And that was presented to the Community Stakeholder Advisory Committee as something to celebrate. Additionally, Ryan Fatica, a freelance journalist who's done some work for us out here on this project, was arrested during a protest march last summer. Ryan, who was working for us at the time, was released from jail without any charges because they were arrested, but no one documented who he was or what charge was to be filed against him. But Ryan, who was working for us at the time, had a reporter's notebook that was confiscated and not returned. So a journalistic notebook that was used for reporting on our organization about the battle around Cop City, and especially the police response, has disappeared into the custody of local law enforcement. We don't expect to ever get it back. Additionally, I forget if it was Georgia State Patrol or Georgia Bureau of Investigation during other events in this area. Wow, that car almost hit those people, this police vehicle. Previously, almost witnessing an accident sort of threw me off my train of thought there. But previously, a reporter in the woods in this area was actually detained by police and told that he had to delete his footage. Which police cannot compel you to delete your footage as a journalist. And so we've been pretty lucky. We've made it out here. We've been able to stay live and give you the shot of what's going on here. But the police have made it clear that this is dangerous for people to cover it. And that points to the fundamental conflict of interest in this issue, which is that the Atlanta police especially, but all Georgia regional law enforcement agencies really want this project. It's essentially a giant Christmas gift to them from the corporations funding the Atlanta Police Foundation and from local authorities allocating tax funds to support the Cop City campus. John Rutch for the Supporter Report, who's done probably the best reporting on the Cop City issues, especially the regulatory stuff around it, the press freedom violations. Anyone that's just kind of coming up to speed with this, definitely look up the Supporter Report, read all of John Rutch's articles. That's JOHNRUCH. He's really, anything we've done on this, I don't think can really touch his work, but his analysis in some of his writing is that it appears that so the protesters are protesting Cop City, right? They don't want Cop City to be built. Some of them have engaged in direct actions against the project, like we saw tonight, which sort of sparked this heavy-handed police response. But Rutch characterized it as the protesters are protesting the project and the police are counter-protesting the protesters, which seems to be we try not really to engage in commentary, but I think if you look at the minutia of some of the officers' behavior, I don't think Mr. Rutch is, really speaking from a place of imagination. That seems to be borne out by the facts. And tonight earlier, when we were very suddenly and not really with much warning, sort of ordered out of the site, I believe at gunpoint, it was dark, we couldn't see. Definitely the officers had guns who were, suddenly became very threatening and aggressive with us after letting us film them for most of half an hour. Yeah, but so what one of the officers said to us when we were essentially being like, okay, we're leaving, we're following your commands. We're here to report, not to, engage in any actions or to resist the police. We just want to document to our greatest ability. One of the officers I believe said that like we're the problem because we're giving them their fame, which seemed to be essentially a uniformed officer of either the state patrol or a local police department, essentially telling us that they don't want these protests getting coverage or fame, as they called it. So a lot of sort of standards of professional police conduct that's created by entities like the Police Executive Research Forum, Major Cities Chiefs Association, entities that are no angels in and of themselves, but nonetheless they want the police to be seen as professional. They want the police to be seen as impartial. A lot of those standards have kind of not always been practiced by some of the officers on the ground here, as we saw tonight. So we're not even really sure if we can move from where we are. The streets both ways are just clogged with police. We've been told we'd be arrested if we step into the street. So, a bit of a pickle. We asked where the media, an area for the media to report from was, and we were told here, which is not even, this hill starts right here. So we're essentially, in the road despite doing our best to stay out of it. Since we're live, does anyone want to get interviewed on the live stream?
I just sent it.
Oh, great. Thank you.
From a link to tell it.
All right. Let's just make sure we're, I don't want to
Yeah.
give them a pretext. Let's try to stay here and I can be up here. And let me test out the light. I might have to go infrared because it's so dark.
Do you have a light with you? Yeah. Yeah, hold on. Sean has a light.
Okay.
So yeah, ideally don't go in for it.
Does it have a hot shoe mount?
Yeah.
Perfect.
This is in the way though, so that's the problem.
Can you remove that?
I don't know how. Hold on.
Okay.
Just, yeah, wait a second. Sean, would you be down to just hold the light, or were you, if that's okay? Just. Okay. Oh no.
Good. It's just, forced into piles of rotting wood in order to get the shot.
All right. Are we good?
Yeah, we're good.
If you don't mind introducing yourself first.
Sure. I'm Marlon. I'm an organizer with the Atlanta Solidarity Fund.
And from your perspective right now, with the police presence and response, can you just talk about from your perspective what this is like right now?
Yeah, I mean, what we're seeing is an overwhelming and forceful police response to what, as far as we can tell, has been a music festival in the park in protest of Cop City. It seems from what we've seen that the police are responding violently to anybody who they think is associated with the movement to stop Cop City, without regard to anything that they might have done or any alleged crimes, but simply people who are present here and seem outspoken about their opposition to the facility. That seems to be who they're targeting, and that's really consistent with the. We're just hearing pops from in the forest, which is a little concerning.
I think I see fireworks.
I hope that that's fireworks.
I can hear some crackles.
Yeah, okay, I see some sparkles now. Okay. Obviously, in normal circumstances, we might always assume that they're fireworks, but we know that in past militarized raids in this forest, they've killed people. So it's unfortunately a question we have to ask. What was I saying? This type of response is pretty consistent with the police approach that we've seen throughout the existence of this movement, which is something happens that police don't like, and then the authorities respond with a sort of blanket attack on the movement and anybody who they see as associated with it, regardless if they are responsible for some criminal thing or not, simply on the basis that they're politically associated with the movement against Cop City. So that we've seen, many people arrested and charged with domestic terrorism, with arson, with felony assault on an officer, who there's unquestionably no evidence that they've done these things. It's clear that they haven't, but they're being targeted and charged in this way to punish them for being associated with a movement that the police see and claim as a, quote, violent domestic extremist organization.
And if you don't mind, but if you do, you can just say so, talking about the potential RICO charges.
Sure. We have gotten kind of sort of like back channel information, which suggests that the authorities, particularly state prosecutors, intend to build some kind of RICO case against the Stop Cop City movement. And this is very concerning because it's effectively an abuse of a legal framework that's used to target criminal organizations, gangs, and mafias, but it's instead being applied to a broad political movement. It's wholly inappropriate, of course, and cannot possibly hold up in court, but we've seen so far a strategy of prosecutors effectively abusing the law in order to do anything that they can to try to take apart this movement, to demoralize it, to prevent it from functioning. And at each step of the way, as their attempts at intimidation, as their attempts at repression have failed to slow the momentum of the movement, they've ratcheted it up. So we're seeing more and more intensity and aggression on their part, more and more, illegal activity, effectively, from the police. Time will tell if this wave of repression serves to discourage the movement, but if I had to guess, I would say it's just going to make people more angry and more determined to stop the project.
And because this is the fifth week of action, and it just started yesterday morning. So there's supposed to be like a full week of things coming up, and like by your estimation, you expect like things to still be happening?
I have no idea, to be honest. I don't know what protesters are planning.
Yeah.
But from this response by police, it seems likely that cops are going to stop at nothing to prevent this week of action from happening and prevent further protests. We'll have to see.
Do you want to explain a little bit what the Atlanta Solidarity Fund does?
Sure, yeah. So we've existed in Atlanta since 2016. We are a civil liberties and anti-repression organization. So we started from this observation that police use repression, that is like arresting activists and charging them, as a way to slow the momentum and discourage political activism. And we think it's really important that there be an organized response to repression, an anti-repression effort, to make sure that when people face those kinds of arrests and charges, they're not left facing them alone, that the community is able to back them up and make sure that they have access to the resources that they need to fight their charges, to get bailed out of jail, etc. So we operate a bail fund. We connect protesters who get targeted with legal resources, both to fight their charges and to take the cops to court when they, illegally arrest people and violate people's rights. And we also provide a sort of array of support for people who are dealing with criminal charges, such as if people need access to childcare, they need assistance getting transportation to court, all the many ways that legal targeting is designed to harm people, even if they ultimately beat their charges. The Solidarity Fund exists to counter that, and to provide a way for the vast forces throughout society who actually support movements like these but aren't able to be on the front lines to take on some of that burden, so that the frontliners aren't left alone.
And do you see the building of the Atlanta police training facility as something that would prevent people from being arrested because it's training police more, or what do you see it as the opposite?
Well, I think there are many other organizers against the project who probably have more and better things to say about this. But just from my personal perspective, it seems clear that this training facility is being built as a response to the mass uprisings of 2020 in Atlanta, and basically is an attempt to make sure that officers are trained and equipped with the sorts of violent crowd control techniques that are necessary to keep something like 2020 from ever happening again. And that's very concerning to us. As an organization that's dedicated to protecting the right to protest, we see this facility as a step in the other direction to further criminalize and make protest dangerous.
Is there anything else you want to add?
I mean, just a message for anybody who's thinking about standing up in protest of Cop City or any other, social justice issue. Know that the authorities are doing everything that they can to make you feel criminalized, to make you feel afraid and targeted. But at the same time, there are many people all throughout society who exist to back you up, to give you strength and protection. So don't feel discouraged by this sort of like overbearing militarized force that you see like right here now.
All right. Thank you for speaking.
It says the beast.
So this massive vehicle that you see, I don't know if it's spray painted on or just the company name or what, but it says The Beast on it. It's a massive armored vehicle. I don't know how else to describe it.
So this car that was probably ordered to leave literally has nowhere to go.
Yeah, so there's I think also people who are parked here can just go in and retrieve their vehicles and leave. Like for instance, if anyone on this side of the road like maybe needed to leave, I think maybe could go get their car. Anyway, there's someone across the way trying to leave in their vehicle, and it's absolutely nowhere they could go. People are now getting out of the Beast with live rounds, and they're dressed fully in camo with flashlights on their helmets, fully prepped to probably more thoroughly go through the woods, is my estimation. People are unloading. One of them seems very hyped up to go and said, "Come on!" And now the other person's running toward them. They're all in like army green, mostly army green gear, and seem to be ready to spend time in the forest, possibly searching for more people to detain. It's hard to tell because we can't, we have to stay exactly where we are right now, but all up and down Constitution Road, this isn't Constitution Road anymore. West Side Place is where we are right now. On West Side Place, up and down the road, seems like it's pretty much full of cop cars. I can't totally tell, but I think most of the road is full of cop cars, probably on Constitution as well. That's the road that is perpendicular to this one, where the camera's pointing. So we're in Atlanta, Georgia, if anyone is just tuning in. It's about 8 p.m. here in Atlanta. There are a lot of law enforcement officers on the scene from Georgia State Patrol, as well as police officers, sheriff's department. Many of the law enforcement personnel have live ammunition rifles on their person. Also, they were shooting either tear gas or pepper ball, like projectiles. into the forest. There have been maybe a dozen detained people so far. We don't have an exact number at the moment. This weekend there's been a music festival that was happening at what's called the RC Field. It's essentially a public park. People like in the area just go there and spend time at the park and recreate. And so there was a public music festival there over the weekend. And that got shut down when a massive amount of law enforcement officers armed with rifles and other weapons basically stormed down the drive or up the driveway to the RC field. We heard people were getting like thrown to the ground and detained like in the crowd at the festival. And then officers began going through the woods right on the edge of the RC field searching for people. We don't know if there were targeted arrests or if they were just arresting people who seemed, we don't know what their goal was, but anyone they were kind of coming upon, at least toward the end, when we were also almost detained, it seemed like they were just at that point trying to arrest anyone who like even maybe like asked a question or like didn't immediately do what they were telling you.
Sounds like maybe the festival's still going. That sounds like the sound system.
It does sound like a loud sound system in the distance, so potentially music is still playing on the stage. It could be that the people directly near and on the stage were able to stay there and remain there. Because yes, it does sound like something might be playing through that system. There are a mass amount of detainees being brought out right now. We're not gonna zoom in on anybody's face.
Yeah, they're handcuffed.
I will try to count though.
We're just aware that all of these people seem to have their hands behind their backs, so they may be detained.
There's at least 15, maybe 20 people.
The Beast's engine has shut off.
The Beast engine shut off. There's at least 20 individuals who have their hands behind their back. That's who the people who, the law enforcement officers who came out of the Beast vehicle walked into the woods, and apparently that is when the people, their purpose, it seems, was to go help bring those detainees who were in the woods out.
Everybody over there, keep in mind that you don't have to answer any questions. If the police ask you questions and you don't want to answer them, you can just say, "I'm going to remain silent." You're not required to answer anything that they ask you. You can just say, "I'm going to remain silent." And many lawyers recommend this advice.
So with this new large group of people and with the people we've already seen be walked out, I would estimate there are maybe 30 people detained/arrested at this point.
You see they're dropping off bundles of camping gear they're taking off arrestees.
And yes, there are bundles of camping gear, backpacks, foam pads.
Legal name and date of birth.
You can see them, but it's a little wide shot. Okay.
It's hard to tell from this far away, but some of these people look pretty young who are detained and being brought into this beast vehicle. Or maybe they're being brought to another vehicle behind the beast vehicle, but they're being brought behind the beast vehicle, which is what this massive armored truck is apparently called.
You're legal observers. Legal name and date of birth.
So, like, there's a bicycle being brought out and backpacks. So all of the people's property who were seemingly just wanting to camp. There are a couple more people being walked out, escorted out. So yeah, I would say at the very least 30 people were arrested.
There's another 2 coming up now.
Hey folks, keep in mind, you don't have to answer any questions that the cops ask you. If you don't want to answer questions, you can tell them, I'm going to remain silent. I want to speak to a lawyer. And the legal support team will help to get you out of jail.
I couldn't hear what they said, but one of the cops said something in response to that sort of advisory of rights. Can I speak into the mic real quick?
Yeah. And
So I'm just going out on a limb here, but as far as I can tell, sorry, you're going to see
we should try to see who that guy.
this car. Yeah, this man with the tie here and the blue shirt seems to have been one of the commanding officers on site. I strongly suspect that to be the case. I can't say for sure. Any other journalists watching this, maybe local reporters who recognize that official, I believe he's probably part of the Unified Incident Command or some such. All right, the Beast's engine is warmed back up. You can see the Goosebumps kind of style font that the DeKalb County Police Department chose to, christen their vehicle with. They've got some. It's always hard to understand the intention of an artist, but those are not kind eyes that they chose to put on this vehicle.
The captain of the Georgia State Patrol is Major Swain, we were told. And so we believe that's who that older man with the tie was, who seems to be in charge of this operation.
So they're loading camping gear into the Beast. Looks like some backpacking style backpacks with like a sleeping pad tied onto them. The sleeping pads are now under arrest in the Beast. Sorry, we're gonna try to get a higher angle for you. Bear with us here, it might be a little awkward.
Oh, Chris, maybe turn the infrared off for this. Yeah, there we go. Some police officers are walking back toward the forest. Others got back into this armored truck, and it's now backing up. The police helicopter is still flying up above. More police officers are walking toward the forest. We dropped for a second, but we're back up, so I just want to take a look at what it says.
That's the cable getting bumped.
I don't know. Just seeing.
Oh, do you have a charger for this camera, Andy?
I don't. Let me think first.
Just check and then just use sign language or something to tell me. We can go up on a phone if we need to.
That should be fine. I don't believe I do have another bag.
I got some. You can plug into USB.
Where is your car at? You're more than welcome to take it. Yeah, I think you should be able to make it right.
So the police seem to be letting people go back into the Weelaunee People's Park parking lot to get their cars to drive out. That seems to be okay now.
Does anybody else have a car in here that would like to get out?
Ours is in like
No.
the field.
Like in this lot?
No, sorry.
Don't answer any questions.
Yeah, like
You're welcome to get your car in front of you.
it's not there. Sorry. Oops.
Advise not answering any of their questions.
What does the battery say?
We really should have held our ground on the other corner. Could be us right
I
now.
think we're.
We'll go back. They might. Whoever told us to leave.
Yeah, maybe they forgot about
it.
that.
Okay, whenever they're not.
It totally is. What?
This other big police vehicle is turning into the Weelaunee People's Park parking lot. It's like a big, tall van. could be another transport vehicle for detainees if there are more already back there waiting for a transport vehicle. So it seems like there are, from an estimation from the amount of people we've seen get detained and be walked out by, like, escorted by police officers to the road to get in transport vehicles, there are probably about 30 people who have been brought into custody here in Atlanta, Georgia, during a music festival during the 5th week of action here in the Atlanta forest, which is the largest urban forest in the United States. Thank you for tuning in, everyone. Again, this is Unicorn Riot. What is right in front of us, Weelaunee People's Park, throughout a lot of the movement over the last couple years, this was a place to drop off donations for forest defenders, and a place to have like meetings and shared meals, and a place to enter the forest. It's also been a public park, which connects different walking and biking trails. However, Ryan Millsap, who used to own Black Hall Studios, he sold it recently for millions of dollars. He is under the impression he owns this property. We were also told by, I believe it was the Georgia State Patrol Major Swain, I believe is his name, said that that over there, Weelaunee People's Park, is private property, so we had to move across the street. And again, there's not a sidewalk or anything over here. It's just a hill with trees, and so there's a group of people over here among us. And there is an ongoing lawsuit questioning the legality of a land swap that happened between DeKalb County and Ryan Millsap, and that land swap is why Ryan Millsap believes he owns this land. However, according to the lawsuit, and what that alleges is that this land is supposed to remain as accessible to the public. There was some sort of agreement by the people who first owned the land that this would remain as a public use park. And so that, and among other reasons, is what the lawsuit is saying, which is against the land swap of Entrenchment Creek Park, part of it, and Weelaunee People's Park. There are many cop cars. All of the blue lights you see are police vehicles. The police helicopter is still flying overhead. It does sound like the music festival might still be happening. I'm not sure how many people are present at it, but at least the sound from the stage can be heard from where we are standing.
But they just in, but I didn't say that I was trying to. Yeah, I just yes. It's like one of the cops. And nobody else. Moving what? One of the cops over there. I'm confident that will out of the I feel like two murder. Okay. So they're going
Where did you hear about that? Was this
So if you're just now watching, this is Unicorn Riot. We're live from, this here is the parking lot of Weelaunee People's Park in DeKalb County, Atlanta metro area, just outside of Atlanta. This area was reoccupied. It had been periodically used as like a protest encampment to oppose the nearby development of what's known as Cop City, or the official name is the Atlanta Public Safety Training Center, a proposed police, urban warfare, paramilitary, self-described paramilitary training center that would demolish about 84 acres of the largest urban forest in the U.S. Atlanta has been called a city within a forest. And so there's been
It might be border.
a pretty intense campaign for about 2 years now to stop this Cop City facility from being built. Originally, people flooded. There was a city council hearing about it where there was, I believe, 70% of the, I forget how many, I want to say 60 or 70 hours of public comment. Vast majority opposed to the project. Nonetheless, city officials approved it. The fact that the facility is being built in unincorporated DeKalb County as opposed to it within Atlanta proper means that there's like kind of a gray area of zoning regulations where a lot of environmental factors they would have to consider are, they're kind of exempt. Although there has been even the existing environmental process around the project has been sort of fraught or not taken place with due diligence. An advisory committee appointed by City Council to oversee the project. Actually, the head of the community stakeholder advisory committee, named Allison Clark, who doesn't disclose during these committee meetings that she's married to a higher up in the Fulton County Sheriff's Department, which is the Atlanta Sheriff. They actually kicked an environmental engineer off of the advisory committee for speaking up about the fact that there was contamination on the site and that there wasn't a phase 2 environmental assessment being done by Terracom and LS3P, who are architecture and environmental design firms hired by the Atlanta Police Foundation. This whole project, which is overwhelmingly supported by the officers responding to protests against the project, which is in and of itself an interesting conflict of interest that isn't really being addressed by authorities. Throughout the sort of input process into this, there hasn't been questions raised by Lily Ponitz, who is an environmental engineer appointed by DeKalb County Commissioner Ted Terry. The committee chair, Allison Clark, who is married to a sheriff's command staff officer, basically moved to have this environmental engineer named Lily Ponitz kicked off of the committee for, she said that she was disparaging the committee when really what happened was she was bringing up environmental concerns in the meetings. The Atlanta Police Foundation's engineers, Alan Williams, the project manager, Tony Kenny, who works for LS3P, would kind of give answers like, oh, thank you so much for that question, but then proceed to not really answer the specific concerns about groundwater contamination, runoff, things like that. And then committee co-chairs Allison Clark and Sharon Williams conspired or worked together in legally dubious manner to remove Lily Ponitz, the environmental engineer who was appointed by a county commissioner. They worked to kick her off the committee. Lily Ponitz had previously said that she felt bullied by Allison Clark as the committee chair. And And this community stakeholder advisory committee that's been heralded by Atlanta Mayor Andre Dickens as proof of community oversight of this project, they were actually calling for terrorism charges against Stop Cop City protesters before those charges were ever filed. So this body that isn't an elected body was held up as an example of community oversight, has actually been part of the police sort of manufacturing a narrative that it's all terrorists who oppose this project. This committee was kind of crafting that narrative before any of the Stop Cop City protesters were charged with domestic terrorism, which has been a blanket charge applied to people arrested in protests since last December against the project here. Looks like some more officers are coming back into the parking lot from the woods. Zoom in for you. We'll try to fill you in with some background during the lulls, and then when stuff's happening, we'll try to show you what's happening. And yeah, if you go to our website, unicornriot.ninja, we've got an 8-year fundraiser going. Thanks to your support, we're able to have the equipment, pay for data rates and stuff like that to be able to, show you these things that, as far as I know, the mainstream news isn't out here broadcasting this. So yeah, Unicorn Riot's entering its 8th year of operations. We were founded in 2015. And so, if you want to help support us to be around for another 8 years, you can go to unicornriot.ninja, look for the donate tab, or that's unicornriot.ninja/donate. We're committed to continuing to go out to things like this and just show you what's happening. We try to only give commentary or analysis when we think it helps fill the gaps of available information, but our main priority is getting you video, pictures, live streams. We get government documents, police reports through FOIA requests when we can. And those things cost money. Public records cost a lot of money. Oftentimes the fees are unreasonably high, but we do our best to pay them anyway. The data we're using right now to stream costs money. The equipment costs money. We pay for things like food and gas when we come out here. So thank you very much for your support. That's unicornriot.ninja/donate. And also sorry for asking for money, but that's how we're able to do what we do. It's a necessary part of it. Thanks for listening to my PBS pledge drive there, folks. We appreciate your support and do our best to, demonstrate a return on your investment in us. So at least one more arrestee is getting led up the driveway of the parking lot here. These two officers seem to have, assumed a more casual posture. It was very confrontational when we were forced out of the forest before. We had officers pushing us while telling us they weren't pushing us. A little bit of light gaslighting by the local authorities here towards the press. Another officer, I believe it was Georgia State Patrol, but I'm not sure, told us that we were part of the problem because we were giving the protesters attention, which was...
Hey there, person who's being arrested. If you want to shout out your name and your birth date, we can relay it to jail support so that they can help get you out of jail.
I'm just going to talk right now so we don't give personal information away from someone being arrested, but thank you all for watching. We are still in Atlanta, Georgia, and we are filming the police. The police are arresting more people. There's at least 30 is our estimation at this point in time who have been brought into custody.
I will do that anytime people are getting arrested.
Okay.
Just to warn you.
We can get into the rhythm of it.
Hopefully there won't be too many more. I just have no idea.
Festival's still going. Do you want to mute for a second?
out with us because none of us did anything wrong, like ever. We were literally just listening to music. This is a public park. We were just.
Do you mind if
we didn't
I
do
get?
anything violent?
Do you mind if I get the audio of what you're saying?
Yeah, sure. We didn't do anything wrong, like, at all the whole time. Like, we have just been here listening to music and trying to be peaceful. Nobody lit anything on fire. Nobody fought anybody. Nobody hit anyone. We're literally just here. Me and my friends literally just showed up to get drunk and be in support of Stop Cop City. Like, that's it. You feel me? And so now, some of our friends are still in there, and these guys just went in with these big ass guns. But we knew, like, we walked out. Like, I called my dad, and he was like, just fucking walk out. Like, as black people, we had no fucking real reason to be in there playing with these fucking cops. They just killed somebody the other fucking day for being a part of this protest. And as a my fucking minority, they have no fucking issue doing that shit, dude. Like, ever. So that was even more reason for us to get the fuck out. But our friends are still in there. And we just told them, we said literally just walk out, just come out the same way that you came in, because a cop literally shined a light for us to make sure we didn't step in mud or anything. Like, he was trying to help us out, not to like defend them or anything, but they're not gonna fucking fight you if they know that you didn't do shit wrong, which we didn't. We didn't do anything illegal, and that's what everybody's worried about, is like, oh, the cops are out there, they're all gonna fucking arrest us. What are they gonna arrest you for? You didn't do anything but stand in there and listen to music.
But so the music festival is still going on? Like, there's people dancing?
I mean, they were
and
still
stuff?
playing music when we were in there. Nobody's fucking dancing.
Oh, okay.
Nobody's dancing at all.
Like, coming into the
Nobody was coming in. Nobody's coming over there.
Out.
No, nobody was trying to grab anybody out. Nobody was trying to pull anyone out. Right at when we were in there.
Right. Just
when
now.
we were. What time is it now?
It's 8:28.
8:28. 8:20. 8:15, we were in there. Nobody was pulling anybody out. Nobody was doing anything.
How many
So why-
people would you say were
Sorry.
maybe there?
Maybe like 80, maybe 100.
Maybe 80
way,
or 100
way
still.
less than
Okay.
were in there earlier.
No one's dancing, but standing around holding ground, basically.
Basically,
Why
yeah.
did
Like,
you-
a girl laid out a blanket and like laid down and like wouldn't move and shit. And then there were a couple people with like the same police kind of like shields or whatever that were out there. But that was it, dude. Nobody was being violent. Everybody was being loving and just trying to be peaceful and keep everybody calm. Because like, even I had a fucking panic attack walking
Yeah.
up out of there. Like, that shit was not fucking like okay to me, like, at all. But everybody should be fine. Them having these big ass guns for people who are trying to be literally
Faye Webster, bitch.
for Faye Webster, all Faye Webster fans, bro. Like, what the fuck do you need fucking AR-15s for? But it's fine. We literally just want to get out of here. We are thanking the universe that we are safe. I was trying to get charged by the moon and everything. This is not. They need to get the fuck out of here. We're not moving until our friends come out of here safe.
Good. And why did you decide to leave?
Because, like I said, because we're people of color. We're people of color, and we don't fuck with the police. The police don't fuck with us. So we're not about to stay and see what happens.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. We're not about to
So we heard from someone who was just near the music festival,
Shout out to them just tomorrow.
and there were the person who was just near the music festival, who was able to walk out, said that there's still about like 80 to 100 people listening to music that is still ongoing, but people apparently aren't dancing. They're kind of just standing around, holding space and listening to the music, according to that person. And they also said, as a person of color, they were like, you know, freaked out by all the police with the rifles walking around.
It was 94, right?
I don't know. I just rely on the camera to.
A large armored SWAT vehicle is entering Weelaunee People's Park.
It's Atlanta Police SWAT.
Atlanta Police SWAT team in a vehicle just pulled up to Weelaunee People's Park.
I think it's a Bearcat.
It may be a Bearcat.
Do you think I'll go to the little one? Is it muted still?
I think we should just go down.
Yeah. You want to do an outro?
Yeah.
If you don't mind bearing with us, we can do this, okay?
If y'all want to go back, we just need to get our vehicle from. They'll let you get your vehicle. Yeah. Yeah. That's the deal. Check. All right, folks, I think we're going to bring the stream down momentarily. Thank you all for tuning in to our stream. This is Alex with Unicorn Riot with Chris and Sean here on the ground in Atlanta, Georgia. We are currently across the street from Weelaunee People's Park, also known as Entrenchment Creek Park. There is a massive police presence here, heavy-handedly responding to a music festival, as well as some direct action that happened earlier in the evening. The music festival began yesterday afternoon around 5, and then went into today. The music festival had a bunch of different types of artists, and also like vendors were there. And there was a bouncy house at one point when the police arrived at the RC field. There was a law enforcement officer looked into the bouncy house with a flashlight and pointed their rifle inside of it while looking to see if anyone was in the bouncy house. And
Then they killed the power.
and then they unplugged the generator that was supplying the bouncy house with power. The music at the music festival did stop temporarily, and it seemed at that point a lot of the people, like when the police arrived at the RC field where the music festival was happening, a lot of people just started to leave. Police apparently tackled and detained some people just in the crowd. And since that point, there have been many more people who we have seen get detained and brought into custody.
Do you want to mention kind of like what happened before the cops came?
So there was a massive march, the largest march in the Atlanta forest thus far. People who have been trying to protect the forest from the Atlanta Police Foundation's police training facility and a potential music movie studio decided to, in great numbers, there were at least 300 people, maybe 400 people, marching down a clearing where power lines are. It's like an energy throughway, and that's where police were stationed for some time as like a surveillance watch spot, essentially, with like security cameras, a trailer, different, like a type of setup to just hang out there and patrol and surveil the area. So hundreds of people marched up that clearing. Once they got close to the barbed wire fence, there were fireworks and rocks and other things thrown across into where the police were. The police retreated pretty fast after that. The surveillance area was breached. There was equipment set on fire and smashed. And throughout the movement over the years, there have been many different tactics that have been used, from like over 70% of people calling it, or for the city council, like public comment period for this police training facility. Over 70% of the people who were able to speak at it voiced their objection and their opposition to the project. There are lawsuits. There are all sorts of different like organizations and businesses throughout Atlanta, and a bunch of students, and there's like the wide variety and very varying different types of people who are against this project is pretty profound. There's clergy people, all sorts of folks, from community movement builders and different like local grassroots organizations to like bigger nonprofits, and have all been trying to do what they can to slow this process and try to prevent it. The police training facility has not been built yet. It does not exist right now. There's a forest in its place where they want to put it. And so those hundreds of people who acted how they did, that's, you know, one strategy, one tactic that has been used throughout this movement to try to prevent the building of this massive police training facility specifically, that will inevitably help train law enforcement officers from all across the country, maybe some international people as well. The School of the Americas, which I believe is renamed now potentially, but that's in this state of Georgia. And so there have been some connections made between the School of the Americas that with this Cop City training facility. Cop City is what folks who are opposed to the project call it, because in the actual facility there will be a mock city, like a fake city, that will be built to practice essentially urban warfare. And so the music festival what was ongoing throughout like different other activities that were happening. And not too long after the confrontation at the surveillance area in the clearing, a massive police presence arrived right outside of the RC Field driveway. And then there was, at that point, officers marched up the driveway, arrested people, made their presence very known to everyone who was there. A lot of people at that point ended up like running away to get out of the RC field where the music festival was happening. The music eventually shut down, and then law enforcement started going through the woods with their flashlights trying to find people. Whether they had people in mind or not is unclear. It seems that at least 30 people were arrested and taken into custody tonight. And there were either tear gas or pepper spray projectiles shot into the forest. And myself included, and Chris and Sean, the other two Unicorn Riot journalists on the ground here in Atlanta, were told that at one point that we needed to leave or we would be detained. One officer grabbed my shoulder, another officer grabbed Sean and was shoving Sean, and was saying, like, just keep walking or you'll be detained. And we kept walking, and they were following us out. We got out and then arrived at Weelaunee People's Park, out from the wooded area. And at that point, we were told to walk to the edge of Weelaunee People's Park, the edge of the parking lot, where at first we were told we could stay there. And then we were told that that was private property, so we had to move across the street where we've been standing for, I'd estimate, in 45 minutes maybe. Yeah, there's not a sidewalk or anything over here. We're just basically standing on concrete that's covered in forest debris, like pine needles and leaves. And yeah, that is essentially the scene here. And but we are gonna go down from being live. We appreciate everyone who has been watching our coverage of this week of action. It's the fifth week of action here in Atlanta, Georgia, for folks defending the forest. And today is Sunday. There are things scheduled for the rest of the week. Just different events. There's also like walking tours throughout the forest that are being led just to like look at the forest itself, and like, you know, on like the public areas where like it's, you know, a forest, just to like see what could be raised, see what could be destroyed, and from all the rain, the torrential rain that's been happening, the forest really seems to you know, hold that water, and it soaks up the water, and we've seen that since, you know, we've been here, just the massive puddles, but how like if this is just a slab of concrete, you know, it makes you know, environmentalists and other folks throughout the process of this project have brought that up as something to be concerned about. You know, not only is cutting down trees and part of a massive forest potentially bad for the environment and climate, but also in the way of flooding. Like the city could flood more, and the water retention could be even worse. This police van is being backed up with the back doors open. It's a transport vehicle, and there are some people in the parking lot talking to police. They don't They're not handcuffed. It's unclear if they're detained, though. But that is a transport van being brought up into the parking lot, Willamette People's parking lot. We might just linger here for a minute to see what is happening right in front of us. But either way, thank you all for staying tuned for our live coverage. If you want to see all of our coverage over the years of Atlanta, Georgia, specifically about the movements here to defend the forest, you can go to unicornriot.ninja /ATL-forest-coverage. You can also go on our main page and scroll down a little bit, and there's a button you can press that says Atlanta coverage. I think it's just Atlanta forest coverage or something similar to that. You can click that and it'll bring you to a landing page where all of our coverage that we've done on this is there, including videos and articles and other such content. If you appreciate our work and want to help us continue to cover this movement and cover all of the other things that we've been doing over the years, you can support our work. We've been doing this for about 8 years now, and we have an 8-year fundraiser. And we also have 2 merchandise stores where part of the profit is donated to our organization, our nonprofit organization. So, yeah, we're just gonna see what's happening with this transport vehicle for a second, and then we'll be going down.
It's like some kind of jazz, like jazz blasting from the sound system at the festival. Very surreal.
The police transport vehicle back doors were closed, and its rear lights are on. It's backing up. It's unclear why it pulled up in the first place, because now it's just seems to be backing right back out. It's a DeKalb police van. And the police helicopter has been flying overhead for hours at this point. They must have stopped at some point to put more fuel in, but it's been pretty much flying overhead for probably the past 3 hours or so. And again, the music festival is still happening. We can hear someone is singing, and there's music playing out of the sound system. Someone who had just left the music festival about 15-20 minutes ago was saying that there were still about 80 to 100 people listening to the music. Earlier today, there were probably at least 500 or so people attending the music festival. On the sound system, there was chants of "Stop Cop City, bitch," over and over there for a second. They're letting people drive out finally. This other van seems to be getting held up for some reason. Well, we will continue to report on the outcome from tonight, and are also planning to cover things that are happening tomorrow, so make sure to stay tuned to our coverage.
Oh, really? Those people that they are holding with it.
And before we actually go down, again, if you appreciate our current coverage and our past coverage, you want to see more in the future, please consider giving any amount you're able. You can even do like $1 a month. A recurring donation to support our independent media. We don't have commercials. We're also commercial free. We don't take money from corporate institutions. We are completely independent. We're also decentralized, so we're somewhat somewhat worker owned and operated, we're a news media collective that tries to just show things as they are, specifically content that mainstream media either overlooks or doesn't as thoroughly report on. And so we try to add more context and grounding and depth to things that are maybe reported on more shallowly by mainstream media, and trying to just balance the media landscape by providing content that may otherwise go unnoticed or unseen. So if you appreciate our coverage, you can go ahead and go to kerneright.ninja/donate. We also have some merchandise stores. So if you want a t-shirt or a sweatshirt, you can grab yourself one of those. This DeKalb police van is pulling up again and might actually be leaving this time. Thank you all for watching. Stay tuned for coverage that will be coming out the rest of the week here in Atlanta, Georgia. Also, we are continuing to cover things elsewhere in the world as well. So make sure to check out our website, unicornriot.ninja, for all of our coverage from all of the different things we cover.
Just say that we're going down.
And we'll be going down now. Thanks.